morning, ladies and gentlemen. As Einstein once said, anyone who has never made a mistake has never tried anything new. With those wise words in mind today, we begin a day that you will remember for eternity, a day that will revolutionize your career. Ladies and gentlemen, we warmly welcome you all for the Career Fair and Workshop 2023. We are the official student body of CA Sri Lanka, representing a student base of 44,000. The Student Society has been empowered to add value to our student base following the professional qualification for chartered accountants ever since 1981.
Lamps have played a significant social and cultural roles in lives of Sri Lankans. Keeping in line with our traditions, it's time to illuminate the wonderful occasion by lighting the traditional oil lamp.
Sri Lanka Mata, Upper Sri Lanka, Namo, 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 Namo Mata. Sundara Siri Barini, Surandi Ati Sobhamana Lanka. Ranya Dhanaya Nikamal.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. As the president of the Chartered Accountant Student Society, let me warmly welcome you to our Career Fair and Workshop 2023. I hereby take the privilege in welcoming our keynote speaker, Mr. Chevan Daniel, the Group Executive Director of Capital Maharaja Group, and today's guest speakers, along with the Acting Chief Executive Officer, Sri Lanka, Mr. Prasanna Liyanage, the Council Member of Sri Lanka, Mr. Nuwan Witanage, and Council Member of Sri Lanka, Mr. Chamara Aberathne, the Student Training Manager of Sri Lanka, Ms. Madhusi Hapudarchi, and Student Affairs Director of Sri Lanka, Ms. Lakmali Priyangika, and also we are warmly welcome our guest speakers, Mr. Damit Gamage, Mr. Deshaka Pereira. It also gives me the great pleasure to welcome the all members and all CA students and all CA staff members in Sri Lanka, my own society members, and every participant who took the time to join with us physically and virtually today.
They say that there is no importance to an event if there are no words of wisdom. And therefore, it is with honor that I would like to cordially welcome Mr. Chamara Aberathne, Council Member and Chairman of the Student Training and Skills Development Committee of CA Sri Lanka, to address today's gathering. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together to welcome Mr. Chamara Aberathne.
Mr. Chevan Daniel, Executive Director of Capital Maharaja Group, Mr. Nuwan Witanage, Chairman of Student Involvement and Counseling Committee and a Council Member, and Acting CEO of CA Sri Lanka, Mr. Prasanna Liyanage, Director Students Affairs, Mrs. Lakmali Priyangika, and the President of Student Society, Mr. Amit Sampath, and and the members of governing committee of the Student Society, and officers of CS Sri Lanka, and dear students and ladies and gentlemen. Let me first congratulate each of you for selecting a right path to achieve your dream of becoming a professional. CS Sri Lanka has been, and it will be as well, now pioneering accounting qualifications to our accounting professionals. These institutes have produced more than 10,000 chartered accountants, and based on recent research survey conducted, more than 2,500 companies, CFOs are from CS Sri Lanka. We have very strong student base, and our qualifications, the qualification that you are going to acquire, is recognized locally and globally. So our professionals and our professionals with the CA qualification are one of the sought after qualification in the world. So we are competing with many other big countries, but our qualification in financial professionals, for financial professionals, is very well recognized. So you have taken absolutely right path, and it's up to you to make your dream reality. So if you look at our qualification based on 3 pillars, absolute 3 pillars. First is the syllabus. Second is the learning partners, other one is the training partners. These are 3 pillars that our qualification built on. And I'm sure you will go through that, you as a student. If you go through our syllabus, we have a world-class syllabus which we adopt some time ago, and we also do revision to our syllabus based on the market needs and based on what's happening, later development in accounting professions, and also based on the market expectation of a accountant, of accounting professional. So our syllabus is tested in 2 ways, that is practical experience and also theoretical knowledge. So deliver this practical experience and the theoretical knowledge, we have a learning partners. One is the learning partners, we call it teaching colleges, who are expected to deliver our syllabus to our students and may build up your knowledge, skills and competencies suited for different levels of our qualifications. So if you look at, as you know, our training is divided into 3 levels: business level, corporate level and strategic level. And at all 3 levels, we test your knowledge, theoretical knowledge as well as practical knowledge. So our qualification, as I said earlier, strongly based on the practical experience. So if you look at our practical experience, it is an experience that is expected to be for 3 years minimum. It need not to be 3 years, it can be more. Of course, we also do various assessment at different levels, business level, corporate level, and strategic level. We do an assessment for you all to make sure that you acquire the right experience along with the set of completion of exams to eligible for each level. Of course, CS Sri Lanka, if you look at it, we have given a lot of, we have now allowed students to sit for until corporate level. So you can easily complete your exams up to corporate level. You don't need actual training for that. And we also introduced recently on-demand examination. So you can actually sit for the exam whenever you want in first 2 levels. So we also now, as some of you have come here due to aptitude test conducted because of the A-level result getting, as you know, to become a student of CS Sri Lanka, we need to have 3 simple passes. But however, results are getting delayed due to various issues, and we didn't want to. We didn't want you to stay at home doing nothing actually. So we want you to pursue professional qualifications, start exam right away. So we have now enrolled you as students of CS Sri Lanka, and to make sure that you acquire the knowledge on a continuous basis. And I'm sure you will do you can sit for the exams, and you can also start your practical training as well. So we are doing various changes to our syllabus as well. And in terms of learning partner, we also evaluate our learning partners to see whether they really convey our syllabus right to our students. So our students are up to date of what is expected from our syllabus. And the important part is the training organizations, I said. So if you look at the training organizations, we have divided training organizations into 3 sectors. First is what we call that PP sector. It's called, first is the public practice sector. Other one we call MPP sector, non-public practice sector. And we also introduced recently called BPO sector or BPM operation, BPO sector actually. So there are, our training organizations are divided into three sectors. So we see a lot of requests coming every month actually, a lot of registrations. We do an assessment at the beginning and we select based on certain criteria, we select the training organizations. It can be public practice or non-public practice. We also regularly review their performance because they enter to an agreement with CS Sri Lanka, provide the required internship training. And they are obliged, based on agreement, to provide the adequate training and cover required sectors and provide the adequate exposure as well. So, why we open a BPO sector? Because BPO sector now is in demand in the country and that has generated over $2 billion of income to the country. We believe our students can also pursue on the BPO sector as well. So, for you as a students, as a students of CS Sri Lanka who are looking forward to enter into a training agreement with training partners. So we invited a selected 25 training organization to come here and we call a career fair actually, so that all of you can face the interview and understand what they can offer you and what are the opportunities for them to grow, for you to grow, and so that these training organizations will be there right throughout the day, so that you can walk into their places, face the interview, and then take your choices. So you basically decide, you have option. As I said, more than 1,000 organizations. We can't bring everyone here due to limitations, but we invited large organizations. I'm sure it's up to you to select the right choice, make the right choice, because it's very important that, as I said earlier, it's very important that you acquire the right experience, right practical training, we call us. Yes. For you to obtain the you need to go for a place that you can offer right experience. And also, you as an individual has a responsibility to achieve the best. You can complete 3 years, of course, they will keep you, and then you complete 3 years. But whether the 3 years experience that you gathered is enough for you to become a chartered accountant, definitely will be tested at our levels. We have various assessments that are conducted. So you had to get through those assessments. There you really, practical knowledge will be tested by well-experienced chartered accountants. So make sure that you select the right choice, and it's all yours. There are opportunities available, and when you really see the market today, our training organizations are looking forward for CS Sri Lanka students. There are a lot of vacancies available. They all say our students are good, very committed, hardworking. One of the things in our students is the technical knowledge. We are known in the technical knowledge actually. We are very good. That's what we are good. But of course there are certain needs. For example, communication skill, leadership skills are something that all of you has to improve, because that is what is expected in the market when you get into the role of accountant or CFO or financial professional in the future. For you to give the best perspective of these sectors, as I said, public practice, non-public practice and BPO sector, we have lined up 3 presenters and 4 different sectors. So they will all talk to you on those offerings on experience on those sectors, so that you can take right choice, right decision for your career. And then make sure that you listen carefully, clarify anything that you have. We have a CS Sri Lanka staff right throughout with you all, and make a right decision. Because important, one thing to remember is that it's your career decided by you. You are taking a very important decision of your life. When I want to select the place that I want to assign articles, I evaluate a lot of factors. Now, of course, I'm talking about many years ago, now you have friends, you have social media, you have various evaluations, reviews and things like that. You can easily make a right choice. Because this foundation of your experience along in the exam completion will take you where you want to be. That develop a right professional. For that, your commitment is also absolutely important. One thing that I want to request also is based on the comment that I received from training organizations, is that when you select a place, stick to that place and work hard for the organization. I'm sure they will recognize you and provide a way for you to build up a career. Because sometimes what will happen is you join for training organizations, and after a couple of months or 6 months or whatever it is, you try to break and go to some other organizations. These trainer organizations invest a lot of time and on their training, practical training in terms of the knowledge, sharing knowledge, counseling and coaching and so many things to develop you who you are in the future. I consider trainees are coming like empty hand and with a lot of knowledge, but I'm sure when you walk out on that place, you have a lot of knowledge, courage, competency and confidence as well, so to deliver. So make sure, rather than changing the places, make sure that you work for the organizations and then to take a right move whenever it's needed. But of course, be a valuable employee in the particular organizations, rather than just changing the places whenever you want to. Because none of the organization will give you best opportunity to work or best exposure within the 6 months or 1 year down the line. I don't think it's going to work. It takes time. You need to have steady growth actually. So the ladies and gentlemen, so we have opened up for you career fair. I think we are doing it for after many years. We want to do it to provide opportunity for you to take the right decision. And so I request all the students to spend this day and listen to some of the other presenters as well and take the right decision on you. So let me wish you good luck and all the best for your career, and I wish to see you, all of you, as a future chartered accountants, because this profession in the future belongs to you and you are a asset of the profession. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, and right now, our chief guest that we have with us is a very popular personality in the entire country. A truly inspiring gentleman who is no stranger to the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Sri Lanka, as he has previously also graced many conferences as well. So to deliver the chief guest's address, it is with true honor that I would like to take this opportunity to cordially invite our chief guest, Mr. Shevan Daniel. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together to welcome Mr. Shevan Daniel.
Good morning. I was seated over there just thinking to myself, I did accounting for A-levels, and if my teacher at St. Thomas's knew that someday I would be constantly addressing a room full of accountants, he would die laughing. He would never imagine it. It's really wonderful to see all of you. First of all, thank you to Chartered Accountants Institute of Sri Lanka and the students' body for constantly inviting me and giving me the opportunity to speak to your young students. It's always a privilege. And when I was thinking about what I should speak to you about today, the first thing I thought I must do is congratulate you for being here. It's a weekday, it's pretty rainy outside, and some of you must have traveled long distances to be here. But the fact that you're here is an indication that you want to get somewhere in life. You want to make something out of your life. You're interested in structuring your career so that you reach your potential. And that's what I thought I'd speak to you about today. This really important struggle of how you structure a career. So I was trying to figure out, and I love doing this, trying to figure out the etymology, that is the origin of a word. And the origin of the word career happens to be this Latin word called carus, which means chariot. It means chariot. What use is a chariot if it's just sitting in one place? A chariot is meant to move, correct? You get into a chariot, and let's forget chariot. Just think about a vehicle, a car, whatever, something with wheels. It's not meant to be in one place. It's meant to move forward. It can also move backwards. So the real question is, how do you move forward? What do you need to do to move at the rate, with the right force, do the right things, so that you move in a direction that will ultimately get you to your fullest potential? This is super important. Your fullest potential. I need all of your attention, okay? Hello. So, the idea of thinking about your fullest potential is very important. See, I'm going to ask you a question that I want you to think about for the rest of your life, not just today. Because this is a question I ask myself and I think about every single day. What league are you playing in? What league are you playing in? Does everybody understand the meaning of the word league? Let me make it a little simpler to understand. We all watch cricket, right? How many of you have watched the qualifiers, the World Cup qualifiers? Hands up. Oh my God, this is so terrible. Sri Lanka has qualified for the 50-over World Cup, okay? That's good as a nation. It's something to celebrate. Okay, we've had so many disappointing things to hear and listen to. Finally, we have something to celebrate. But anyway, we all have at some point watched a cricket match, and we all understand cricket, or we understand some sort of sport. But you can play cricket in different leagues. You can play cricket down the street, like I did. You can play cricket for your school. You can play cricket for a club. You can play cricket for your country. You can play cricket for an IPL league. Or you can play cricket like Kumar Sangakkara, Sachin Tendulkar, Brian Lara. The different leagues. So when you decide what league are you going to play the game of life, everything changes. Everything changes. Everything that you do, think, say, the people you hang out with, the kind of focus and attention you pay for mundane activities, everything changes because you're playing at a completely different league. And that choice is yours, it's not mine. You decide. Are you going to play this game at the highest level? Are you going to just lead a mediocre life, which is fine. If you want to live an ordinary life, that's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with it. But if you want to reach your potential, then you have to see a vision of what league you want to play in. A great example that I speak of quite often, and I have got his permission to say this, is possibly one of the world's greatest batsmen, Kumar Sangakkara. I know Sanga for many, many years, and I remember him to be a good batsman, but I never in a million years imagined him to be someone who's compared to someone like Donald Bradman. He just did not have the skill. He didn't have the mastery over batting that would take him to that kind of level. He wasn't even too serious about cricket. He was an excellent badminton player. He was a brilliant tennis player. He was obviously a very, very good student. But something that I always saw in Sanga was the fact that he envisioned for himself playing at a different league. And then he would put in the work that would take him there. So when he broke into the Sri Lankan cricket team, he was considered to be an excellent batsman with one stroke, a cover drive. And so after a couple of matches, after a few games, world-class teams figure out this guy is a one-trick wonder. He can only play the cover drive. If we pack the field in a certain position and bowl in a certain way, we're going to get the guy out. And that can happen in your career as well, if you're a one-trick pony. If you only have one amazing ability, one incredible qualification, someone's going to figure out where you're weak. And you're not going to be able to move beyond that glass ceiling. And so, especially for aspiring accountants, you need to understand the importance of constantly pushing your boundaries. The world is not dependent on anyone anymore. And so, to go back to Kumar's story, he decided that he was going to work on the areas he was weak. He was going to develop the areas which everybody said he was absolutely weak at. And I've seen him, there would be cricket practices for the national team, and then there was Sangakkara's practices after the national practices. He would keep batting in the nets for hours and hours and hours, working on one stroke or the other, until he was satisfied that he was getting better. Not only physically, but he also worked on his mental game. You see, all of us can succeed when everything's fine. But how do you face pressure? There's a beautiful sign at the entrance of Wimbledon which says, pressure is a privilege. But it won't feel like a privilege if you're not mentally prepared for it. Almost everybody can pass an aptitude test, and all of you are very bright individuals. You'll all get through your exams and become chartered accountants. But life has a different way of testing you. It will throw things at you that you never expected. It'll put you under so much of pressure, so much of stress, bad bosses, terrible colleagues, a lack of opportunity, failure. These are things that you face and I face. But the important thing is, how do we keep moving that chariot, that vehicle, under extreme pressure, under extreme stress? And you have to have a process to do that. That's very, very important. So preparing yourself mentally, having a mental process, having some sort of motivation to take you through the bad times, the difficult times, when all of your friends and colleagues are succeeding and driving cars and have fancy offices, but you're stuck somewhere in some small office somewhere doing something mundane. How do you hold your nerve? How do you keep yourself from falling apart? When people around you might be having wonderful lives, partying on the weekend, and you have to go home and take care of your parents. When you have to stay away from a lot of fun activities, as young people, that can be very difficult. And some of your friends have easy ways to go overseas and seem to be living wonderful lives on Facebook. How do you keep yourself satisfied and calm and trusting the process that you've set for yourself? That mental process is super important. And as you are here today, I want to tell you that that process begins today, right now. It doesn't begin in 5 years or 10 years. Now, I'm going to move on from cricket to golf, which is a sport I cannot stand. I've played it like twice in my life and I hate it. But there's something to learn in everything. And one of the lessons that I've learned from watching golf, you can watch a sport and learn. I've never played tennis in my life, but I watch hours and hours of tennis so that I can learn from it. Okay, so golf is another thing that you should try to watch. And something that has fascinated me is the tee-off. Do you know what a tee-off is? Any one of you have watched golf ever in your life? There's a The starting point of golf is when you have obviously a small golf ball, and you have to swipe at it as hard as you can and get it as further as possible from you towards a hole. And usually it can be 300, 400 yards. Okay? Now that's a very important shot, because that shot will determine how successful you are beyond that. Okay? Now here's the thing. When you strike that ball with a club, with a club, I want you to listen to me carefully. The point at which the club strikes the ball is less than 2 centimeters. 2 centimeters. I want you to imagine this. Okay? It's like a bat hitting a ball. But instead, it's the face of that club hitting the ball is maybe 2 centimeters. Okay? That's how it happens. Now, if you get that angle wrong by 1 degree, all of you are very smart. What happens in 400 yards or 300 meters? Where will the ball end up? Will it end up near the hole? Yes or no? Yes or no? No, it's going to end up in a bunker or in a tree or somewhere else. That's your life right now. A young student who's looking to set the trajectory of your life. The trajectory. It's all about trajectory and momentum. As a young student who's just about to set off somewhere and end up somewhere in 300 or 400 meters, let's equate that to 20 or 25 years. This is where it all begins. If you get it wrong now, you won't even know you got it wrong. Because you'll be sailing up somewhere, traveling at extreme speed, not knowing that you're heading in the wrong direction. So you've got to put everything you possibly can into this period, the start, to make sure you get the trajectory right. Because if you get the trajectory right, this is important, if you get the trajectory right, and you're heading in the right direction at the right speed, with the right amount of force, it becomes effortless. You don't need to do anything. You just need to sit there and enjoy the ride. But if you don't, it's impossible to change direction halfway through your journey. Well, you can, but it's a mess. So get it right. This is no joke. This is not only your future, but the future of this country. Look at the trajectory we've taken as a nation. What we've done in the past, getting the angles wrong, nobody is surprised that we have ended up where we are. If you make a wrong choice, you spoke about the importance of choices, Chamara. If you make the wrong choice, you're going to get the results of that choice. There is no way out of that. It is a universal law. So as you are preparing to launch your career, there are some things that you must remember to focus on in order to get the trajectory right. Okay? Now, you can fail. Things might get messy, unhappy. That's all fine. That's all part of life experiences. But getting the trajectory right is the key. And the way to do that is not only knowing what to do. Now, CA Sri Lanka will tell you what to do, but you also need to know what not to do. Now, how many people will tell you what not to do? And what not to do is basically this word that we love to hate, and that's called sacrifice. You see, sacrifice is often misunderstood. Sacrifice is a very important concept in your life, because sacrifice is what you decide for yourself that you don't want to do because of the journey that you've undertaken. Sacrifice. Do I sacrifice time spent with my friends so that I can read or study or complete my exams quickly? Do I sacrifice a job with a big pay because it doesn't fit into my life's journey or my life's purpose? Do I sacrifice something that I absolutely love to do so that I can focus more on something that's important to me? I'm standing here in front of you today because of this word sacrifice. I can tell you that in all honesty. If I didn't decide to sacrifice certain things in my life, I wouldn't be standing in front of you today. I became a CEO when I was 25, and everything was laid out in front of me. I had everything that I had ever dreamt of. Being a CEO at 25, honestly, isn't that difficult. If you have a good boss and you have a company that gives you opportunities, it isn't that difficult. It's remaining at that level and continuing to improve yourself for the next 10, 15, 20, 25 years. That's the difficult part. And making sure that you don't fall apart at a very young age and that you don't burn out. That's important. And for that, you must be able to sacrifice. So, one of the things that I did, this might be important or not important, but I'll tell you as a personal example. As soon as I realized that I had such a lot of responsibility, I gave up something that I enjoyed doing for many years in my life as a university student. I gave up meeting up with my friends and having a drink. And it changed my life because suddenly I lost a lot of friends because nobody wanted to hang out with me because I just was not someone, I was someone who wouldn't have a drink. Now I'm not saying, everybody should stop drinking. That's not at all what I'm saying. But I decided at 25 that I was going to be playing in a different league. And I had to be in my senses 24 hours of the day in order to play at that league. You can't face Wasim Akram or Curtly Ambrose or some of the world's greatest bowlers if you're not present in the moment. You're going to get injured, probably get hit on the head and die. So when you're playing at that kind of league, you have to prepare for it. You have to prepare for it, so that takes sacrifice. And sacrifice is not only just giving up something. Sacrifice is also discipline. It is discipline that allows you to sacrifice something for a greater purpose. So what's discipline? What's discipline? Have any of you heard of this marathon runner called Eliud Kipchoge? Anybody in this whole room? Okay, so Eliud Kipchoge is the world's greatest marathon runner. He's run a marathon faster than under 2 hours. I think 1 hour and 58 minutes. Now, to do that, you have to run faster. You have to run 100 meters faster than all of us. Any of us can run 100 meters for 42 kilometers. That's an insane achievement for the human body. Okay, and the one quality that you can learn from Eliud Kipchoge, he's just a poor boy from Kenya, definitely had ability, was physically talented, no doubt about it, but kept coming 6th, 7th, 8th, 10th in all the races around the world, wasn't considered to be a special, out-of-the-ordinary runner. How did this ordinary runner with a lot of skill and talent become a world champion? He decided to play in a different league. And one thing that you will learn from Eliud Kipchoge, and I would really urge you to write it down and go and watch some of his videos, is his attitude towards discipline. he famously says that only the disciplined are truly free. We think we're free, right? All of us think that we're free. But are we? How many of us are free from this? At some level, we're all enslaved to this. Are we not? We are. We wake up in the morning, and what's the first thing that probably 99.9% of us do? We reach out for this. And we get caught into a rabbit hole of messages and WhatsApps and Facebook things that our entire day is ruined. We lose our focus, and we're not able to do anything beyond that. How many of us can focus for more than 10 minutes? The latest research is that young people can't focus for anything beyond 8 seconds. It's less than a goldfish, I think. So are we truly free? No. We're enslaved to different things. Some of us might be enslaved to chocolates or sweet things. Some of us might be enslaved to whatever, having fun, whatever it is. But unless you're disciplined, unless you have control over the things that you enjoy, you are enslaved by it. And that ultimately will mean that it will weaken your chariot. One of the wheels will come out and you'll be, you won't be able to compete at a certain point. And why would you do that to your life? Why would you do that? I'm standing here and talking to you as an extremely ordinary Sri Lankan. I don't have the time to tell you this. It's not the topic I am to speak to you today about. But if you hear the background from which I come, it will make a lot of sense. What I'm saying will make a lot of sense. Because it should be technically impossible for somebody like me to stand here and talk to you today in Sri Lanka. Life was extremely challenging and difficult for me. But I had good people who took the time to train me, guide me. And I think the one thing perhaps that I did best was shut up and listen. And I do that even today. I try to do it today. So you have a choice. You can either lead an ordinary life, or you can pitch your dreams slightly higher and go for something extraordinary. Isn't that what we need in this country as well? We settle for so little because we don't know the potential of Sri Lanka. We're told that Sri Lanka can reach her potential in 2048. How can you give somebody hope by saying that things are going to be okay in 2048? This country has the potential to blossom tomorrow. We don't need to move Sri Lanka from the middle of the Atlantic to the Indian Ocean. We are already in the greatest geopolitical location in the world. We already have so many resources. We should be the world's top 10 tourist destinations. Geopolitically, we are invaluable. And our greatest treasure are our people. We just need to let them be, work hard, and everything will be fine. And that can happen literally tomorrow. We don't have an understanding of our potential as a nation, so therefore we accept being told what to do by other countries. We accept mediocre leadership, below par leadership. We accept untruths and lies because we've lost the ability to discern the truth. And so our decisions are wrong. We are indisciplined in our thought. And therefore what happens? We find ourselves in this terrible predicament where there are some African nations which have millions of tons of gold beneath the earth. And their people live on less than a couple of cents a day. The worst incidents of poverty in the world are seen in some of the wealthiest nations in the world. We may not have millions of tons of gold, but I can see millions of tons of gold sitting in front of me. And we've accepted to lead these mediocre, ordinary lives because we haven't understood our potential. So as a nation, we have to understand where Sri Lanka should be. And as individuals, we have to understand that what our potential is and what do we need to get there. So, my challenge to you is decide today, what league are you going to play in? You are here right now. Some of you will take some of this and use it. Others of you, in through one ear, out the other. That's the difference between the winner and the loser. That's it. That's it. That's the hard truth. I had friends in my class who had everything in life. Right after their A-levels, they went to some of the best universities in the world. Oxford, Cambridge, some of the best American universities. But what have they done with those opportunities is an argument that I'd love to have. Very little. Whereas all of us have been surrounded with ordinary people who've made incredible achievements with tiny opportunities. That's because they are ready to make use of those opportunities because they recognize the opportunity. If you don't recognize the opportunity, guys, it's going to just whiz past you. It's going to whiz past you. It doesn't matter if you're 20, 30, 40, or 50. You have to be able to recognize an opportunity. When you recognize an opportunity, you have to be able to have the discipline, mental, physical, and spiritual, to make use of that opportunity. If I were to play cricket for Sri Lanka today, as you can tell, I love cricket, okay? But if you put me into the team today and somebody bowled a full toss to me, chances are I'd probably get out, even to a full toss. Why? I don't have the skill, the capacity, and the training to even make use of a simple opportunity. So if you plan to live an extraordinary life, you must be having some sort of dream. Whatever that dream is, it might be as simple as building a home for your parents. Whatever that dream is, don't let anybody steal it from you. Don't let anybody steal it from you. And work on your weaknesses, for God's sake. Forget your strengths. You're already good at what you're good at, and you'll only get better for as long as you stay focused. But what about the areas, the thousands of areas in which you need to improve? I'll give you another example. As you can tell, I went to St. Thomas's and I was trained in the dark art of learning the Queen's language from the Wendy Watmore Academy and this and that and everywhere. And was released from St. Thomas's with the ability to speak English fairly well. Even though 100% of my school education was done in Sinhalese. So I left school, got into the corporate sector, had my ups and downs, but as I said, ended up as the head of a company at a very young age. And that was that. I didn't really need to be able to speak Sinhalese that well. I could communicate. As long as I could communicate in Sinhalese, that would be it. And I should have been happy. But I'll tell you what, I was very restless because I knew that with what I had set for myself, the standards and the league that I wanted to play in, I needed to be able to communicate in Sinhalese really well. And I knew that at the start it was going to be a disaster. But if you plan things well, you can actually take little mini risks. So that's what I did. I began to speak in really far-off rural villages where even if people laughed, nobody would know. Okay, no one cared. So I would test myself, speaking to small audiences of poor, hapless, captive villagers in different parts of Sri Lanka, speaking to them, and training myself to think. Now, I obviously think in English, but whatever comes out of my mouth has to be in Sinhalese. I can't change that, right? So I would continue to do this and go through this process day in, day out, day in, day out. I didn't have to do it. I could just have, sat in Colombo and enjoyed my role as the CEO. But I decided to play in a different league. And over a period of about 15 years, I must have given thousands and thousands of speeches out of Colombo in different parts of Sri Lanka, to the point where today, I am a nervous wreck speaking to you right now, okay, believe it or not. But when I speak to hundreds and hundreds of people across the country in Sinhalese, I'm as calm as a ship in the ocean. How on earth did that happen? It's because if you decide to play in a different league, and if you put in the work, and if you're willing to push yourself through the difficulties, through the challenges, through the failures, and if you improve yourself just a little bit every day, you're going to change your destiny. You're going to make a dent in your destiny. You're going to correct the direction in which you're supposed to go and head towards something better. And so don't tell me you can't do something. Because if a guy with a name like Shevan Daniel can go and speak in Hangarankata and Anuradhapura and Polonnaruwa in Sinhalese, anything is possible. So don't tell me you can't do something. Don't tell me you're only an accountant. You're not. All of you are leaders. You have it here inside you. You just need to take it out, work at it. Imagine something that's extraordinary for your life. Figure out what are the disciplines you need to bring into your life. Figure out what are the skills you need to improve in your life. And surround yourself with people who are going to support you. A support structure is super important. Have you heard of Novak Djokovic? Novak Djokovic, the tennis player? World's #1 tennis player. Okay? Incredible human being. Speaks 5 languages, I think, in addition to being the greatest tennis player that ever lived. Novak Djokovic, at one time, was just like many other great sportsmen, very ordinary, very average. He would come up to the quarterfinals, even the semifinals, and then he would lose. But he decided that he was going to, and his problem, he identified his problem. His problem was a mental process. He would get too nervous, and then he would become defensive. His opponents, people like Federer, would immediately notice that, attack that weakness, and he was finished. And so he needed to fix, he was extremely skilled, very, very fit. But in the 5th round, or the 5th set of a Wimbledon match, it's not about how fit you are. It's about how mentally fit you are. And he needed to sort himself out. So what did he do? He got himself mental coaches. He found himself a support structure, including his family, that would support him to strengthen his mental process. He would remain calm, but also be extremely aggressive. He would not react to whatever was going on the other side of the court. Because if you're playing someone like Nick Kyrgios, for example, who's always doing all sorts of crazy things, it's easy to get distracted. So he would avoid getting distracted. He would focus on his game and have the capacity to see himself through extreme stress and pressure. The rest is history. Today, he is the greatest, he's I think 37 or something, he's the greatest tennis player that has ever lived. And I think he's got another 4 years maybe of tennis in him. He's going to just break records like no one else has. So that's what I'm talking about. You're not too young to start thinking about these things. Expand your mind and expand your experiences. Start watching sport, for God's sake. None of these guys watch any cricket. throw away the accounting books for a bit and watch some sports, some tennis, some cricket, watch some music. You can learn from everything. Travel. You can learn from mountains, the sky, the ocean, the rivers. You can learn from everything. The greatest lessons in life are not in books, not in classrooms. They are in experiences. The more experiences you have, the more enriched a person you become, and the better your decisions will become. It's directly related to leadership. So my young friends, as you're structuring this beautiful opportunity, which is your career, as you're getting this vehicle ready to travel an exciting path, remember that you have to decide what league are you playing in. Thank you so much for your attention. It was a huge honor for me to be able to speak to you. God bless.
Thank you very much, Mr. Daniel. Could we request you to stay on stage, to remain on stage, as we would like to take this opportunity to thank you for inspiring us to take the right direction, to understand our potential, and for most of all, taking the time out to be here this morning.
To present the token of appreciation, now I would like to cordially invite Mr. Chamara Abhiratna, Mr. Nuwan Vithanage, Mr. Prasanna Liyanage, Mr. Amit Sampath, and Mr. Akash Senadhira.
Thank you very much to our presenting party, and thank you very much, Mr. Siobhan Daniel, on the importance of the CA profession and the life at non-public practice sector organizations. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together to welcome Mr. Nuwan Vithanage.
Late Nelson Mandela once said, "Education is the most powerful weapon. You can change the world." Unquote. I can personally tell you that in modern terms, professional education is the most powerful weapon you can use to change your life. I can guarantee you, tomorrow your story also same. So that means you have chosen right choice. Good morning, everyone. And dear Acting CEO, CS Sri Lanka, and today guest speakers, my dear students, friends. By standing here, my memory goes back to my early days. I born and brought up. Sometime stories similar to you, way back, Anuradhapura. Today you all experience career fair. But thanks to CA qualification, I had the opportunity to get practical exposure. Then I realized there's something called mercantile sector in Sri Lanka. We can persuade new dimension. As earlier you might heard from Chevan, back then I decided to have a different league. I didn't want to settle less. I didn't want to stay at my village. I set my bar at a different league. Not only that, every second I work towards that. Every second I enjoy it. Not only me, I think a lot of friends' stories like that. Today, I'm standing here, being the corporate leader at listed entity, I'm proudly talking you. I see one of the speakers today, my colleague Damit here. I know his story. He has done his A-level in science stream. Maths, not for commerce, I know for sure. However, he changed his career. Today, he's a leading partner at Ernst & Young at very young age. Which shows that if you have determination, if you dream big, if you work towards that, and if you enjoy the journey, you can belong to the league you want to belong. I had a dream to earn 7-digit salary. I achieved way back, which shows the potential of this qualification. CA is not an academic qualification at all. I truly believe Sri Lanka, we are nothing short of talent. We have enough and more talent. What we are lacking is that there is no proper guidance or proper career management available. As a result of that, we don't manage our talent. As Chevan mentioned, we settle for less. We don't really aim different class of league. Person born and brought up at Anuradhapura, I can tell you that I really fear to English language back then. So when we had a term test, I used to go to all the subjects except for English, because I know after facing that, my results are not really good. But that is not a barrier to do the chartered, because English is nothing as long as we realize that it's all about how well you can communicate your communication. Not a big thing. So if someone is here thinking that, okay, CA is good, this is the path, I can change my life, but I am doubt about my language. Forget about. This I can do, definitely you can do. It's all about believing yourself. And if you have 1 second of doubt about yourself, always think about your dream. That will passionate, that will drive towards your dream. So that's nothing different to sports. I think you might engage with one of the sports where you love. If someone is like for cricket, if you are a fast bowler, what's your objective? You run hard, try to grab a wicket. But during that process, you never focus on physical wear and tear, how much effort you are going to put to take that wicket. Because you are dreaming that wicket and you are passionate to take that wicket out. I think this professional exam is like that. You always need to focus to achieve your dream. During that process, it's tough, but not an impossible one. Friends like you did the same thing in the past. You need to focus, you need to keep on doing the things you are supposed to do. I can tell you that future is very bright. Future is very bright. I am telling from my experience. I think today a lot of speakers will share the thoughts which further signify how you can persuade your future career. And today is a great opportunity where, being the CA National Body of Accountants, we realize that it is very, very much important. We need to make available career fair like today, where you can capitalize, you can select training partners, thereafter you can persuade and get the exposure. Remember, I earlier mentioned that this is not academic qualifications. It's all about how you go to the field and showcase your talent by applying theoretical factors you learn at the professional qualification. Sky is the limit. I start this speech saying that Sri Lanka nothing short of talent. You all are talented people. I don't have any two words about that. You can do anything. Only thing, dream big, do everything with passion. Do everything with passion. Don't settle with less. I am here. I didn't settle with less. I didn't settle with less. Everything I did, I am doing today, I'll be doing tomorrow. I'm doing with passion. If I don't enjoy something, I don't do. My only message to you all is that do everything with passion. Don't settle with less. And I can guarantee you, you came to the right place and your future is bright. One day, you will be coming here and speak like myself in one day. All the best to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vithanage, for addressing today's gathering.
Now I would like to cordially invite our guest speaker, Mr. Deshika Pereira, to speak on life at BPO sector.
To welcome Mr. Deshika Pereira.
So I'm often asked, what is BPO? What is BPM? In other words, business process outsourcing or business process management. You know, these days the buzzword, right? At the Chartered Institute recently, BPO sector was added on to the training curriculum. And there was a lot of effort went in to really understand how to do that. And there a lot of thinking went behind it. So this is a question that I've been asked by a lot of people when I talk to my colleagues, when I talk to my friends, because there'd been a perception in Sri Lanka is about BPO. First thing that comes to our mind is about data entry. Yes, it was data entry about 2 decades ago, because this industry has been there for almost 2 to 3 decades now. But today, the BPO industry or the BPM industry has evolved so much. Globally, the BPO industry is about $169 billion US, out of which finance and accounting, I think a couple of weeks ago I was here talking to some of you at this panel discussion. I think there's so much potential that has been created through this industry. Globally, it's so big, right? So what is in it for us as Sri Lankans? So we are very popular as a nation to produce a lot of accountants. So I hear there are 8,000 members currently, CA members, and of course there are other accounting qualifications too, right? So what is in it for Sri Lanka? The potential that we have seen in developing the BPO, BPM industry in Sri Lanka, specifically on the finance and accounting side, there's a huge potential, right? So there are a lot of companies have set up operations in Sri Lanka. The government had also made a pledge and a plan is being also put forward to really focus in developing this industry. I think they're looking at IT and BPM industry together to get to about 200,000, workforce. and also about a $5 billion US dollars revenue for the country. You know, but there's huge potential. So as students, as you know, chartered students, what is in it for you is what I'm interested in, you know, talking to you about today. So I have been in the industry for almost 20 years now. You know, I've started off, you know, as a very junior in the industry, and sort of moved up, you know, in ranks, and sort of had that opportunity to sort of, you know, understand the industry so much well. Right? The sector has so much to offer. Now today we spoke about being in different leagues. So the BPO industry is completely in a different league. You know, because the opportunity that the industry creates for you, or the BPO companies creates for you, is giving you experiences. I know Shevan was talking about the challenges you might face if you are particularly looking at one particular qualification or one particular area of expertise. You know, today in our industry, in our organizations, in our companies across Sri Lanka, one thing that we have started to do is to provide a lot of training and development for our employees. You know, because it is very key. Today, you know, the industry is changing so fast. You know, technology is taking over so much. You know, all that repetitive work, the data entering, you know, all that manual work has disappeared. We don't want people anymore to work on those in data entries, inputting, you know, data and things like that. We don't need people for that anymore. You know, we need people for more of value-adding activities. Yeah, sorry about that. So, so what I'm planning to sort of share with you today is about, you know, sharing some of that experiences with you. I've got a video coming up, so he's helping me out with that. So the industry today had spent a lot of time in training and development, like I said, because of technology. You know, there's so many, you know, things that's really sort of adding into the finance and accounting industry. So we are not, so ERPs, yes, we need to have that knowledge of, you know, understanding ERPs, but we have now gone beyond all that. You know, artificial intelligence, you hear blockchain, you know, machine learning. There's so much slowly sort of, you know, coming into even to the industry, even to finance and accounting. You know, so companies are now testing this out. So BPO or the BPM companies are ahead of this curve. So what they have started to do is they are starting to learn all these things very well, so that they could offer all our clients, all the industries globally, to sort of stay up to speed, because finance accounting is changing so rapidly today. And the opportunity you have in this organization is through this training and development and knowledge that you have, you are going to sort of build in specialities. You know, I think about a couple of weeks I said we don't need generalists anymore, we need specialists. So that's why I'm so fond of chartered accountants, because you come with a lot of technical knowledge. You know how to really interpret it. You know, with that experience, when you start to work for a BPO firm, what you start to do is you use that experience, and then you start to use technology, add technology to it, and then start to sort of, you know, develop some expertise. So that is something that we have been doing so much, and some things that has been trending in organizations like us. And about also something, you know, we talk about is culture. You know, today I know there are a lot of Sri Lankans, you know, travel abroad, you know, go overseas. They say they want better standard of living, you know, but what they lose is the quality of living, you know, because when you're away, you know, there's different country, you don't get that opportunity to sort of, you know, engage as much as you engage here in Sri Lanka. But what these BPO firms have done is they are going to give you that opportunity while working in Sri Lanka to get yourself exposed to global opportunities. Some companies that's listed in the New York Stock Exchange. You will never get that opportunity if you do not work for a BPO, you know, because unless they have a office here in Sri Lanka who provides some level of service. But today, the BPO industry, what it had done is, it had brought all these companies together, and the BPO industry is supporting you to sort of take over some of these things. And the next thing I always talk about is about the opportunity that you have towards culture. You know, there is a huge opportunity for you to start to
engage into different cultures. Now, I know most of 38 of our organizations that we support are Australian companies. So today in our organizations, we provide them an Australian cultural training, a UK culture training, a US culture training. The reason being, most of these employees in our organizations need to engage with some of these clients abroad. So they need to sort of understand, how to really, engage and how to really, sort of build in that relationship with all these customers. So that's one of the reasons why we provide all these things. I think the youngest employee that I have in my organization is 19 years old, and recently we organized something called a Power BI hackathon because we see some potential in, data visualization and data analytics, and she's an accountant. She's a CA accountant, 19 years old. She won the competition. She analyzed a case study on Power BI and just sort of presented it to a panel. Huge potential. I know by the time she qualifies herself and, get to a particular standard, she's going to really make an impression in the industry. So the potential that we have created out of the BPO industry is giving all our young talent an opportunity and to experience different opportunities within these organizations. I think that had really supported most of the people that I know who had worked and who had just done well in the industry. And the other thing is about, as being part of a BPO or a BPM company, the other opportunity you have is to also rotate. Job rotation is something that we all like, right? We don't want to do the same thing again and again and again and again for a longer period. So what the industry had offered, or the companies, BPO companies offer, is that they have organizations, they have industries that they support across the globe. It could be banking sector, it could be financial sector, it could be logistics, shipping, you name it. All those different industry companies have outsourced into some of the BPO companies here in Sri Lanka. So what you have as, without having to move into different organizations, you have the opportunity to really work within that particular organization and rotate yourself across. In BPO companies, there are a lot of processes, there is a lot of, they're very repetitive, it's the same thing. But I think it is in your hand. Like other speakers said, don't settle for less. If you want to really understand and if you really want to move across, you have the opportunity. One of the leading insurance companies in the UK hired 30 of our accountants, a mix of chartered accountants and management accountants, to implement IFRS 17, the insurance contracts, which created a huge impact on the insurance industry, hired 30 of our accountants to really implement the IFRS 17. And I don't know how many of you know, I think there is some sustainability standard, has been issued recently, IFRS S1 and S2, for sustainability reporting. I think 2 weeks ago we were talking about ESG. Now the opportunity you have is that by working with your technical knowledge, by working for BPO companies, you get the opportunity to get exposed to all these things. Now sustainability reporting is starting to, become so big, across all capital markets. So you have the opportunity now as chartered accountants to get involved in all these activities. So that's a huge potential that I see most of chartered accountants have today as part of working for the BPO sector. So apart from all that, we are very interesting, culturally very different. We have a very young workforce in all our organization, almost all our organization. The company that I come from particularly, our average age is about 23 years old. So you get that opportunity to learn and work with the colleagues across the organization. So for me, in summary, there's a huge potential for all of you if you're interested in working for the BPO industry. That's because it can provide you different experiences. Moving outside of being a typical accountant to being more of an tech-enabled accountant is the opportunity that you have by working for a BPO. So that's what I want to share with all of you, and thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deshika Pereira, for delivering the address.
Yeah, now I would like to cordially invite our guest speaker, Mr. Damit Gamage, to speak on life at public practice sector.
Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together to welcome Mr. Damit Gamage.
So today I'm going to speak to you about life at auditor, life in an audit firm, right? So that is called as the public practice sector. So basically, many other chartered accountants are produced through these audit firms, because many other, even some people who are like legends in the mercantile sector, even started their careers at the audit firms. So it's very important sector as a trainee or as a beginner of the chartered course to get to know about audit firms in detail. So I'll try to cover all these key aspects within this 10-15 minutes. Before that, starting from what Nuwan said, yes, I did maths for my A-levels. So after that, only I started this chartered accountancy course. And as soon as with that starting the chartered course, I enrolled to an audit firm, which is a mid-tier firm. I got a lot of practical exposure through that audit firm during my first 2.5 years of the career. So first of all, the key message that I want to give, it doesn't matter the size of the firm that you're working for or you're hoping to work for. What matters generally is the exposure that you're getting from there. Personally, I did not got that as a job. I did take that as a job. I always wanted to pursue a career in what I'm doing, where I can be. It's not about the designation. It was not like I didn't have an ambition, to be a partner, director, or senior manager in the audit firm. In my first few years, the ambition was to be a competent professional, right? The competent professional. That was my focus. When Shevan said, focus on what you do today. Maybe in certain circumstances, when we interviewing people, what we see today, they really focus on the designation, salary. They sometimes don't ask even what I'm supposed to do, what is the exposure I'm getting, what is my career path. They don't ask those questions. When we're given a chance for them to ask whether you have any questions, so they don't ask those. So they just ask, what is the designation I'm getting, what would be my salary. They really focus on the very short-term goals, I would say, but not the long-term goals. That is their career. So always think when you are going to a job, or when you're searching for a job, or when you're searching a training opportunity, what is the career that I'm having in that particular organization, right? So there are no good or bad organizations, but only thing the way you think and the way you adapt to those organization matters. So those 5 elements actually give you the exposure that is required to perform thereafter in the audit firm, in your career, wherever you work, or maybe within the audit firm even. So that particular knowledge and the application of that knowledge, because all these 5 areas, the knowledge you are getting from the courses that you are doing anyway, chartered accountancy syllabus or the curriculum would cover all that aspects that I talked about, accounting, auditing, tax, law, everything that would cover in your curriculum. But what is missing there is the application. So the application of all those 5 areas that I mentioned is coming through your job and through your career, right? So that application is really important, because sometimes we learn accounting standards. For an example, we say a simpler, maybe property, plant and equipment. We know what we call about depreciation or whatever. But how to apply in a practical sense is being taught at a job. So that is why this is called a training. So that particular training broadly in 2 types, on-the-job training and the classroom training. So in an audit firm, basically on-the-job training is really vital. So your seniors, your managers, your superiors teach you things then and there while you are facing to that particular issue or the circumstance, right? So in my career in the audit firm, I got the opportunity to work in many audits in different organizations. Some are large conglomerates, blue chip companies, or I've done the audits of largest market cap companies in Sri Lanka. And certain sectors, maybe insurance, banks, finance, manufacturing, plantation, healthcare, hotels. So wide spectrum of industries had been covered within my 3 to 4 years audit training period in the firm before I become an assistant manager and so on and so forth, right? So understand that is really vital, and we could get I could get a very solid career because of those exposures that I got in working in different companies, working with different people. I got the opportunity to talk to top-notch business people in this country, because as an auditor, we get the chance to go and meet the audit committees, the board of directors, or other board subcommittees. So at that point, I could listen, their business perspective, their exposure, their experiences, the way they take the decision, the way they face to the problems, all that was an experience to me, right, the content. So I repeat myself, different industries, different companies, different people, and not only that, once it comes to the IT or technology, I got the exposure and the opportunity to work with many ERP systems, right? Many very good ERP systems, a ERP system which has weaknesses, where IT controls are not relying on, so things like that. So then how the company control structures work through that, right? It's not just only a balance sheet or trial balance level audit, whereas the controls of the company, the processes of the company, everything being touched. Right? If I wanted to start a business in one particular sector, I would say a hotel, I have the know-how. So don't think the auditing is a very boring subject. That is the way sometimes some people do. Because we go for an audit, and if we try to understand that particular industry, how the thing is working. If it is a hotel audit, from the point that a customer is walking into the hotel, up until that customer checked out, the entire thing is a process. We get that knowledge as an auditor. Right? That business knowledge is really vital. See, even if you want to be an entrepreneur, then you know how these things are working, how the processes are working, how the internal control systems are working, what are the industry specific factors in that particular company and all that. So all this exposure and the experiences you can gather within your audit firm experience, whatever the number of years you stay. Then the other things like modern things like data analytics, big data analytics, because in the auditing also have been modernized. So we use those tools to for our auditing techniques. So those things also been covered, and we do use softwares to document our auditing. So even at the audit firm level, also we touch these technology and data analytics aspects, top of the experience we get by using the softwares that the clients are using. So all these modern aspects or the things that you like as youngsters also will be covered through that. And also, like the previous speaker spoke, even in the audit firms, we have now arms that we working for foreign companies, right? Some Caribbean islands, some UK, and some European countries, we do work because they tend to outsource. There is a trend and the tendency that companies are outsourcing their audit work, some tasks or some repetitive tasks, or even sometimes the technical tasks. So the experienced staff being put for those audits, actually then they work for those foreign clients. So they get the foreign exposure by being at home. All this wide spectrum, not only one area, auditing, accounting, and taxation and everything, right? So those avenues also there with the audit firms. Main thing that I need to say, wherever you work, it could be mercantile, it could be audit, it could be BPO, the working attitude you have actually matters. So that is what my personal experience says me. I had the passion and the attitude to learn. So then I connected with my superiors, and that professional networking is also a must, right? So it's the way you behave with the people, the way you attach with the people, the way you maintain your professional relationship with the people, maybe maybe the people in your organization, maybe with the clients. Your attitude matters. So if I'm in the attitude, I need to learn. I'm very passionate about this, and I'm enjoying my work. I have a goal to be a competent professional. Then you will gather all that. But if you think, okay, I'm doing a job, there be only 3 months more. Why should I learn all that? I want to do a different thing. And if your attitude or your internal circuit says something like that, wherever you work, you will not be a competent professional. So attitude matters top of everything. So then the knowledge will follow that, right? And once it comes to the training, again, we give local training, classroom training, on-the-job training, and most of the training now are being modernized. So that will be running through simulations. Simulations in the sense an artificial working environment will be created through your laptop. So then you are facing to real issues. It's not only a classroom training like this. A speaker is talking and you all are just listening, whereas you have a lot of activities. So the modern learning theory is also being adopted in the audit firms. So whereas even CS Sri Lanka is conducting very good training programs for the whoever needing training. So all those aspects being covered through CA and through chartered rather audit firms also. So my key message, definitely y'all can. I started saying I did maths. I never had an idea to do chartered accountancy. But where I am today as an audit partner in one of the big 4 firms is a proud moment because of this CA and the learning attitudes that I had and the passion I had on this training. So I'm sure all of y'all can to achieve that status. All of y'all can talk me like this, and as previous speakers mentioned, it's only thing within that training period, within that period that you are learning your skills, learning your theories, and being trained, focus on that. Capture as much as you can the experiences and the talents and the skills. So end of the day, those skills only will survive you in a job. I mean, the qualification sometimes is good to get a job, but to survive in the job, all these experiences, skills, and the exposure would matter, right? So keep all this in mind. I'm sure you'll be very successful one day, and like to see you all speaking like this. All the very best to everyone, and you have a very, very successful journey with CS Sri Lanka. Thank you very much.
And just as the popular saying by Geoffrey Chaucer goes, all good things must come to an end. So it is with true pleasure that I would like to now call upon Ms. Judith Hasangi, the Social Secretary of the CA Student Society, to deliver the vote of thanks. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Ms. Judith Hasangi.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are hereby marking the end of our first session of Career Fair and Workshop 2023. To mark the end of this glamorous morning, let me now present the vote of thanks to all the pillars who made this occasion a reality. I would like to convey my heartiest thanks to keynote speaker, Mr. Chewan Daniel, the Group Executive Director of Capital Maharaja Group, and along with Acting Chief Executive Officer of CA Sri Lanka, Mr. Prasanna Liyanage, Council Member of CA Sri Lanka, Mr. Nuwan Witanage, and Council Member of CA Sri Lanka, Mr. Chamara Abeyratna, Student Affairs Director of CA Sri Lanka, Ms. Lakmali Priyangika, Student Training Manager of CA Sri Lanka, Ms. Madhushi Hapuarachi, and our guest speakers, Mr. Damit Kamage and Mr. Deshaka Pereira. Furthermore, I would like to convey my heartfelt gratefulness for those who participated in their respective organizations to make this event a successful one. I would like to thank all our participants for their active participation and encouragement. Let me take this chance to give a big thanks to the team behind the scenes, CA Sri Lanka staff members who lent us their support very generously to make this event a memorable one, and the CA Student Society. Thank you so much for all the effort, dedication, and commitment you contributed, and for all the challenges you had to overcome from the very beginning. This event is a true reflection of the power of unity and the team spirit. Bringing my speech to end, I would like to apologize to everyone who earned a heavy heart due to organizing work of this career fair and workshop. With that, I would like to wish you for a great day and wish you all the very best for your interviews. See you at the next in the future events. Thank you.